Paul Newman was a guy who knew what he thought was beautiful. He picked out the 8 women he thought were the beautiful of all time. Those famous blue eyes of Paul Newman saw a lot. For a time, Paul Newman was the standard for what a handsome man should look like in Hollywood. What Paul Newman thought was beautiful about women said a lot about him. Paul Newman understood women well, which is something that a friend of his who knew him for over 40 years said. Paul Newman did not just see how women looked on the outside. He saw that some women had a kind of character. They were also very intelligent. They had some rare qualities that made them really stand out and be remembered. These qualities made certain women truly unforgettable. Paul Newman made a list of the 8 beautiful women of all time. These women were not just beautiful to look at. Paul Newman thought they had something that made them really beautiful. He saw something in each of these women that went beyond how they looked. The women on Paul Newman's list were beautiful because of who they were, not because of how they looked. Paul Newman believed these women had qualities that would stay with them forever, and that is what made them beautiful women. Number 1. Joanne Woodward. Joanne Woodward was the number 1 woman in Paul Newman's life. She was the one who made him want to stay at home. For 50 years, she was his wife and the first person on his list. In a place where people get married and divorced quickly, Paul and Joanne's marriage was very special. A friend of the family said that Joanne was always Paul's number 1. He could talk about women, but when he talked about Joanne Woodward, his voice was different. Paul Newman could think about beautiful women, but Joanne Woodward was the one he loved. When Paul spoke about Joanne Woodward, you could hear the love in his voice. It became more intimate. It also became more reverent. The thing that happened was that it became intimate and more reverent. People who knew Paul and Joanne said that when they were in their 70s, Paul would look at Joanne with a lot of wonder. This was not because he was remembering the days. It was because he really admired the person Joanne was at every point in her life. To Paul, Joanne was a woman who just got better with time. She was not less beautiful as she got older. She was more beautiful because of all the things they went through together, because of how smart she was, and because of the time they spent together. In a world where people think you have to be young to be beautiful, Paul loved Joanne in a way that showed people what really makes a woman beautiful. Paul thought Joanne was beautiful. That is what mattered to him. Number 2, Grace Kelly. She was a quiet person, even in a room that was very loud. Paul Newman said that about her. They made a movie together in 1958. It was called The Left-Handed Gun. At that time, Grace Kelly was almost done with Hollywood for good. She had just gotten married to Prince Rainier III of Monaco. So she was finishing up the movies she had to do before she became a princess. Someone who worked on the movie said that Paul Newman thought Grace Kelly was the kind of woman you would always remember, even if you only met her for a while, like 5 minutes. Paul Newman really thought Grace Kelly was someone. Kelly was different on set. Filmmaking is usually a mess and really loud, but she was calm and moved slowly. This made everyone else seem nervous. Newman thought she was beautiful. He also liked how she carried herself. Some actresses try hard to get people to notice them, but Grace Kelly did not have to do that. She just was noticed. Newman said something about her that I think is really true. He said she was like quiet in a loud room. She was so calm and peaceful that she made everything around her seem different. Grace Kelly had a way of being that made people take notice of her. Newman really admired that about her. Number 3, Elizabeth Taylor, the woman who really lit up rooms. If Grace Kelly was about being calm, Elizabeth Taylor was all about being super intense. Even though Paul Newman never made a movie with Elizabeth Taylor, they met a lot. He was really taken by her. He loved her violet eyes, but what really got him was the power Elizabeth Taylor had. She brought it with her everywhere. Someone who made movies back in the 1960s said that Paul Newman thought Elizabeth Taylor was what passion looked like. Taylor did not just walk into a room, she changed a room. Newman once said that Taylor did not want people to just look at her from away. She wanted people to really feel her presence when they were close to her. The way Taylor looked was really powerful. It made people pay attention to her. It also made people feel things like they really wanted to be with her. They were a little scared of her. Taylor was different from a lot of famous people because she did not try to hide her life from the public. People knew about all of her marriages and the time she was not feeling well, and the things that she did that might seem strange. Taylor lived her life out in the open for everyone to see, including all the things that might make people like her or not like her. The director who worked with both actors said that Paul Newman thought Elizabeth Taylor was the movie star who really liked getting older. Elizabeth Taylor did not try to stay young in a way. She was confident when things changed. To Paul Newman, this made Elizabeth Taylor very beautiful, in a way that people would always remember. This was because Elizabeth Taylor was beautiful not because of the way she looked, but because she accepted herself without being afraid. Number 4. Sophia Loren, the woman who made men feel like they were not needed. Newman worked with Sophia Loren in the movie Lady L in 1967. Right away saw how special she was. Someone who worked on the crew said Newman thought Sophia Loren had a face that was so beautiful it made you forget what you were called. It was not just the way Sophia Loren looked that impressed Newman. It was how totally at ease Sophia Loren was with who she was. Newman thought that she was an actress, and that was more important than being beautiful. She was not afraid to look old or not perfect on screen. This is what Newman liked about her. She was like a lot of women who think that being beautiful is not just about looks. To Newman, Sophia Loren was beautiful because she was smart and real. The older Sophia Loren got, the more beautiful she became because she was comfortable with who she was. Newman respected Sophia Loren for being an actress and a beautiful woman second. Number 5. Brigitte Bardot, the woman who broke all the rules in a hypnotic way. Paul Newman never got to work with Brigitte Bardot. He was definitely affected by her just like the rest of the world. Brigitte Bardot changed the way people thought about beauty in the 1950s and early 1960s. She was something new, a natural beauty who seemed completely unpretentious. And this was a big change from the glamorous women that people were used to seeing in movies. Brigitte Bardot stood out because she was not like the actresses, who were always perfectly made up and stylish. My friend who loves talking about movies with Newman remembered Newman saying that Bardot had a natural and raw look, like the normal rules did not apply to Bardot. What made Bardot so special was not just that she was really good looking. The way she did not seem to care about looking perfect all the time. Other famous movie stars from before were always perfectly styled. They planned out every move. Every single hair was in its place. But Bardot seemed like she was just being herself. She did not look like she was trying to be perfect. Bardot was different because she did not seem to care what other people thought of her. Beautiful women in movies seem like they want people to admire them, but Bardot did not seem to care about that. Newman saw one of her movies, God Created Woman. He said that Bardot was not perfect. She was actually really captivating. She moved like she was completely caught up in her little world. She was not doing it for the people watching her. The woman was doing her thing, and it seemed like the audience was not even there. She was inside her experience, and that is all that mattered to her. Number 6. Audrey Hepburn, the woman who seemed to float. She was really different from the women on Newman's list. Audrey Hepburn did not look like the Hollywood star. Then most actresses had curves and were very sexy. Audrey Hepburn was skinny and had a face that was very delicate. She moved like a ballerina. Newman thought this was very attractive. Most of the women in Hollywood wanted people to look at them. Audrey was different. When she walked into a room, people just wanted to be around her. Newman really noticed this about her. He thought it was interesting that her beauty made people want to come to her of her trying to show it off. The people in charge of the movie studios were not sure about Audrey at first. They thought she looked too different from what people thought was beautiful, then like Marilyn Monroe. It was exactly this difference that made Audrey's beauty last for a long time, even when trends changed. Audrey Hepburn was a person when she was older too. Some famous people do not like getting old. They just disappear from a public eye. Audrey Hepburn was different. She let herself get older naturally. Audrey Hepburn spent a lot of time working for UNICEF and helping people. A friend of Audrey Hepburn and Paul Newman said that Paul Newman thought Audrey Hepburn became a better person as she got older. For Paul Newman, Audrey Hepburn was a beautiful person because of who she was on the inside. He thought Audrey Hepburn's inner qualities and the way she looked on the outside were a match. This is what made Audrey Hepburn really beautiful to Paul Newman, not her physical appearance. Number 7. Lauren Bacall. Lauren Bacall was a tough woman who looked great in a cocktail dress. Newman met Lauren Bacall times when they were working. Even though they never worked together on a movie, he thought she was really something. She always seemed to know what she was doing. When Lauren Bacall was on screen, she seemed confident. This made her more than a pretty face. She was actually pretty intimidating. One of the people who worked with both Newman and Lauren Bacall said that Newman thought Lauren Bacall could make you feel nervous by looking at you. The director Howard Hawks helped Lauren Bacall feel more confident. He told her to speak in a voice and not move around too much. At first this was something she did when she was acting, but after a while it just felt like her. People like Newman thought she was really special. He said Lauren Bacall was the dangerous woman in a cocktail dress, and he meant that as a compliment. Lauren Bacall did not try to get attention by being sexy or acting like a woman. She was powerful because she was smart, funny, and always true to herself. Lauren Bacall had a sense of self that nobody could shake. Number 8. Ali MacGraw. She had this look of heartbreak before anything bad happened. This was back in the 1970s. At that time, Hollywood was changing what they thought was beautiful. They wanted people to look more natural and real. Ali MacGraw was that. A director remembered that Newman liked Ali MacGraw because she was so real and open with her emotions. People really wanted to see that kind of authenticity at the time. Ali MacGraw had a rawness and vulnerability that Newman really appreciated. Ali MacGraw had a moment in Love Story that showed a new kind of beauty on screen. This was different from the glamour of the past. Ali MacGraw seemed like a person, not someone who was trying too hard to be beautiful. Paul Newman said something about Ali MacGraw. He said she had eyes that made men think about their lives in a different way. What Paul Newman liked about Ali MacGraw was not the way she looked, but also the way she acted. She was very good at showing her feelings. In her performances, Ali MacGraw was really good at that. When we think about what Newman said about these 8 women, we see that he did not just make a list of women with faces. Instead, he looked at what makes a woman really beautiful. He thought about how beautiful a woman's on the inside, like her personality, and how smart she is. He also thought about how she presents herself to the world. For example, Joanne Woodward has a kind of appeal that has lasted for a long time. Grace Kelly was always very composed. Elizabeth Taylor was an intense person. Sophia Loren is a confident woman. Brigitte Bardot is a spirit. Audrey Hepburn was very graceful. Lauren Bacall is a woman. Ali MacGraw is a person. Newman understood that beauty is not about how someone looks. Beauty is many things all at once, like Newman said about these 8 women, including Joanne Woodward and her enduring appeal, and Grace Kelly and her composure, and Elizabeth Taylor and her intensity, and Sophia Loren and her confidence, and Brigitte Bardot and her freedom, and Audrey Hepburn and her grace, and Lauren Bacall and her strength, and Ali MacGraw and her vulnerability. A longtime friend once summed it up simply. Paul was married, faithful, but not blind. His appreciation of beauty was thoughtful rather than superficial, rooted in respect for women as complete human beings. For Newman, beauty was never just what caught the eye. It was what stayed in the imagination and settled in the heart long after the first impression faded.